Hello, lovely people. I have been wanting to do a sort of very low-key, kind of lazy collaboration with Amy from Savor Salvage Scent for ages. And one of the videos I've been wanting to make for ages is one where I talk about perfumes that I've changed my mind about. And I thought it would be really fun to hear Amy's take on that as well. So I can't wait to see the video that she makes, and I hope that she can't wait to see the video that I make, and I hope that you guys enjoy both of them. But yeah, so the idea of this is really to talk about things that I have either really loved and then changed my mind about and I don't like them anymore, or things that I didn't like that I do now like, and things, to be honest, that I would just review slightly differently if I talked about them now compared to when I either first smelt them or, you know, when I first started my channel. So I'm going to start with one that I actually do get quite a lot of comments on. So this is a perfume that I talked about early on in my YouTube channel's lifetime, and I ended up decluttering the bottle that I was talking about, but now I have a bottle back in my collection. So this is Cabotin de Grès, the famously fabulous broccoli top that people talk about. Weird green bulbous lid. It's fabulous. I mean, the colour of the juice is wild. But when I first talked about Cabotin de Grès, I had a bottle of the EDT. Now, I didn't realise that there was an EDT and an EDP, and in my defence, Grès don't make that like super obvious. The bottles are exactly the same, the boxes are pretty much exactly the same, and the notes I think are pretty much exactly the same. So I had the EDT and I reviewed it, and I said that I thought it was beautiful and I liked the smell, but it was just so incredibly strong. I just wouldn't be able to wear it. And I get so many comments on that video, and people often will come on and say, well, maybe try wearing it this time of year. This is really great, this perfume. And then obviously someone came on, a few people now, to say there is an eau de parfum version of this. It is a bit softer. So I did buy the eau de parfum version. I'm not sure if you can see it on the bottom there, but this is the eau de parfum. Now, I personally find that the eau de parfum is a bit softer, a bit more fruity, and a little bit more tuberose and ginger lily forward than the kind of strong jasmine. I mean, there's still definitely strong jasmine in here, but it's a really magical and beautiful perfume. And the funny thing is as well is that everything about Cabotin kind of screams that it's a spring floral. And I'm sure there's loads of people who like to wear this in spring. Personally, I realised that I like this, and I tried it in very, very cold winter purely because it's so strong, but it made me feel really happy. It's not as sweet in winter for sure, because it does have like a syrupy blackcurrant, more so in this EDP. But because it is so bright and vibrant and spring-like, but it's so strong that it holds up to cold weather, it just kind of became a little ray of sunshine on cold, windy, crisp, grey days in London. So I think this is really beautiful. I'm glad to have it back in my collection. But I thought it was worth mentioning because I do get so many comments suggesting that I try the EDP or that I try it in different weather. And I just wanted to shout out to everyone who says that. I've got it. It's back in my collection. The EDT left. This one came back. I have a sample now of the EDT, but I actually can wear that one now without issue. So, I just needed to train myself up with the EDP. But I do think this is a really beautiful perfume. And if you go quite easy on it, it just smells incredible and it doesn't smell too overwhelming. But you really only need 1 or 2 sprays of this bad boy. Now, this is a perfume that I mentioned often not liking. And there are still elements of it that I don't like. But something cracked in my brain when I smelt and tested out the dupe of this one, the La Rive dupe, that just led me to wanting to test a little sample of this. And once I tested the sample, I got myself a bottle. So this is Hypnotic Poison, and this is the EDT. I actually have the EDT and the EDP now because I'm greedy. but Hypnotic Poison EDT, and this is the current formulation. So I really don't like a root beery type smell. I've smelled quite a few perfumes that have that root beery feel to them, and I just don't like that smell. But the thing is with Hypnotic Poison EDT, the current formulation, I feel like it's much lighter than it used to be, which for a fusspot like me is good news, although to a lot of people that's obviously very bad news. But for me it's good news, and I really like the dry down of Hypnotic Poison EDT. So I tested the Larive dupe, which is it called not In Flames? I can't remember what it's called, I'll have to put it down below. But that one, it has more of a Larive vanilla than a Hypnotic Poison vanilla in that. It's kind of less, some people call it Play-Doh-y, but I think of it more as like a marzipan-y vanilla. But I kind of got into that one. I thought this is actually really nice when it dries down. It's super cozy. And so I'd already decided that I wanted to get a sample of the EDP because I love licorice and I wanted to smell that one. But I thought it was only right I get the EDT sample as well. And once I'd tried the EDT sample, I was like, well, I mean, this is a really lovely marzipan-y vanilla in the dry down. Really, really pretty. It's aromatic, it's warm, it's cozy. And despite me for probably over a year, maybe 2 years on YouTube saying I don't like Hypnotic Poison, I do actually like Hypnotic Poison. It has grown on me huge. But anyway, yeah, so I said, I was always bringing up how I didn't like Hypnotic Poison, and now here I have a little 30ml bottle of Hypnotic Poison, and I actually do like it. So changed my mind very much about that one. Okay, next up we have one where I haven't changed my mind about how I feel about it in terms of liking it or disliking it, because I liked it when I first got it and I like it still now. But I would definitely review this differently nowadays. So this is Anise Premier Deise. And when I first got this, I don't think my nose was quite where it is now. I think that's the same with everyone who does perfumes. I think the more you smell a variety of perfumes, a variety of naturals and a variety of aroma chemicals, the more sensitive you get to them, and probably the better you can pick out notes. That's certainly my experience. So for this one, I first got it and I said, this smells like tinned pears. I stand by that. Sprinkled in cocoa powder. And I also stand by that. But what I don't stand by is saying that it's not very floral, because actually the flowers do really come through in Premier Deise. It's a floral gourmand, actually. And although it's very, very strongly a pear scent, I can smell the kind of white florals. I think maybe also there's some hyacinth in here. I feel like because this is a flanker of the original Anise, there probably is quite a lot of the Anise DNA in here, but it's been so long since I smelt the original. I hated that at school. I wonder how I'd feel about it now. But now I can really smell it, and I still think it's beautiful, but I think it's the mixture of the florals with the pear that really kind of create the beautiful scent bubble around this. I definitely smelt someone wearing this on the tube recently, and she smelt so beautiful every time there was a waft. And I came home and I got this out and I was like, right, I'll wear this tomorrow, and I really enjoyed it. So I was definitely picking up some florals mixed in with that pear. So yeah, my initial review is a bit partial on this one because I couldn't really pick up how floral it was. And now, I mean, maybe it's just that my bottle needed to develop a bit more because I have now had this for years. But yeah, this is definitely a floral gourmand and not just a pear and cacao perfume. So yeah, that's Anise Premier Deise. The next perfume is one I no longer have the bottle for, so I'll have to put up a little picture of it. But it is Green Lover by Lolita Lempicka. Now that is supposed to be a male scent, but I do think it's quite unisex because it is quite strong in the vanilla. And what I used to say about that perfume, which I have changed my mind about, is that it is a good, affordable alternative to Eau Duelle by Diptyque. So the thing is, I always liked Eau Duelle, but I never had a bottle until last year. And so, as much as I do think that Green Lover is a lovely, very beautiful, interesting green vanilla, it's also a very citrusy vanilla. And it has a real bitter edge to it that you just don't get in Eau de Well. So I think, like, I mean, just smelling them, like, between them, you know, you can't smell, like, huge differences the same way that, like, there's, I think is it Une Nuit Confidences that has a bit of an Eau de Well smell, and there's another perfume I smelled a while back that's very popular, also smells a bit like Eau de Well. You know, they all have crossovers, they all have similarities in a way. But I think the citrusiness, the more I wore Green Lover and compared it to actually wearing Eau de Well, the more that I felt like, no. I mean, it's definitely a nice green vanilla if you absolutely can't afford to get Eau de Well and you can't find a good dupe of it. But it's definitely not, nowadays, in my opinion, like a sensible alternative if what you're really craving is Eau de Well, because it's not going to give you the same thing. And it didn't give me the same thing the more I wore Eau de Well. I mean, that is partly because I fell in love with Eau de Well, but I think the kind of gin and tonic-y note in that really stuck around on my skin for ages. And the citruses were quite, like, good at sticking around as well. So, I mean, I love that scent. I really wanted my husband to wear it, but it was too vanillic for him. He just didn't want to smell like vanilla. So I ended up gifting that to my brother-in-law, because I was trying to keep it in the family, because I think it's such a fantastic, well, firstly, a fantastic bottle, but it's such a fantastic perfume, and the vanilla is so beautiful in it. But I did keep hold of I've got a couple of Lolita Lempicka Green Lover samples, like official samples. So I have kept hold of those so that if I do want to wear it in the future, I can. But I'm so in love with Eau de Well that I just have to throw my hands up and say, and you'll see another one of these actually at some point. Sometimes you can get kind of affordable alternatives, but then if you really, really love the original, they might not necessarily give you what you are craving. And I feel like that was the case with Green Lover, even though I think it's amazing. So this is another perfume that I always talked about liking but not being able to wear. And now I can absolutely wear it, even though it's kind of a beast. So this one is Lust from Lush. This is hardcore jasmine. Now, when I first started my channel, I said all the time, I don't like jasmine, I don't like vanilla. And you have already seen proof that I now like vanillas. I just had to find my kind of vanillas, and my kind of vanillas are aromatic or green. You know, spicy, smoky, aromatic green. I don't like fruity vanillas, and I very rarely like floral vanillas. I have 3 vintagey floral vanillas, I think, in my collection. And apart from that, floral vanillas, not so much. Jasmine can continue to be a problem for me. I do have perfumes here, and you'll see some that are heavy in jasmine. But again, like, if it's really fruity jasmine, I can struggle with it, you know, and sometimes I just find it too indolic or too screechy, sometimes too soapy. It really can vary in my feelings about jasmine. But what I always said was that I do love Lust from Lush. I just can't wear it because it's too strong and it gives me a headache. And that was very true back in the day. I just love the smell of this so much that every time I'd go into Lush, I would smell it and I'd be like, I wish I could wear this, I wish I could wear it. And then I think someone maybe suggested to me that I try the solid of Lust. So I mean, this is just from a few wears. I started wearing this and I could not stop putting it on. I got obsessed with how this smells. Oh, the solid is a gateway drug to the liquid perfume because it truly is. It's so magical. This is my favourite jasmine I've ever smelt. It's the sexiest jasmine I've ever smelt. And it's the most like standing in a garden at midnight surrounded by jasmine flowers in early spring. Like, this is just, it's so magical. I would say you have to be very careful. This is like Cabotin levels in terms of like overspraying. You could absolutely give yourself a headache with this. I have to go easy. Like, I have to only spray a little bit when I'm wearing the perfume, which is why there's barely a dent in this. But the The solid I can go ham with. I can put that all over me and it just smells like heaven. But I don't wear this in cold weather because in cold weather it smells a little bit like I've licked my hand. So the indoles in this for me go in the kind of spit and saliva realm rather than the fecal or urinal. But there is an animalic and indolic nature to this perfume that I think can be very, very sexy, but to other people not so much. But in warmer weather, this smells like actual heaven. Like I said, it's kind of the opposite of Cabotin. This one I think blossoms in warmer weather, and Cabotin I think is better for me in winter. But I just think this is just the best jasmine ever. So it's weird. I have a couple of things specifically from Lush that have notes in the dominant notes are things that I just don't like most of the time. But yeah, this is some kind of magic, and I really, really I'm so glad that I learned how to wear this. Sadly, I've not had the same thing with Karma, which every time I try to wear it, even in the solid form, gives me a headache, because I love the smell of Karma, but I just have to stick to the soap and the body wash of that because I can't cope with it. But Lust is some kind of magic. Let's do one that I used to like, and now for some reason I just don't like it anymore. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Let me just spray this out. Well, maybe I shouldn't say I don't like it. I just don't want to wear it anymore, I think is what's happened. This is Britney Spears' Prerogative Ego. This is one I plan to let go of because there's just something about this that I just can't wear anymore. And I think it's just the level of sweetness. I've sprayed it out and it is a nice smell. It definitely is. But it is so, so sweet, this one, that I kind of struggle with it now. I went through a phase, maybe it wasn't even last year, maybe it was the year before, where I kind of started getting into sweeter perfumes and I just absolutely fell in love with this one. I had the original Prerogative and I have this. And this was the one that I tended to reach for. Only in cold weather, because in warm weather, absolutely, this is too sweet. But I really enjoyed it in cold weather. And then I got Elizabeth Arden White Tea Vanilla Orchid. And that perfume kind of smells a little bit like Prerogative Ego, but it smells a little bit more natural, a little bit less sickly. It's not as sweet, it's not as syrupy. It's a little bit fresher, but it still has that similar profile. And this particular profile is like the original Ego with extra syrupy goji berry, and it has a kind of Katy Perry's indie style woody creamy base to it, like a musky woody creamy base. And I just find that, even the Elizabeth Arden one now is pretty sweet to me. So this one has become levels of sweet that I just can't handle anymore. And I do really like sweet perfume still, but I think that this is one that I will end up decluttering just because I just can't love it the way that I used to. And every time I pulled it out and tried to wear it this winter, I was like, ooh, too sweet. And the same thing happened to me, with Sweet Tooth by Sabrina Carpenter. It just has become, it's just too sweet for me. So I had a nice little kind of foray into incredibly sweet perfumes, and I've now found myself pulling back. And I still love sweet perfumes, but I like things that maybe aren't quite so obviously sweet, maybe aren't quite so syrupy and sugary sweet, especially when there's like berries in there. So yeah, Prerogative Ego, I've changed my mind about this one. I don't love it the way I used to, and because it's discontinued, probably hard to get, I would rather someone who loves this have this, so I'm probably going to pass this one on. Let's stick with a celebrity scent that I reviewed relatively early on my channel. This here is The Key by Justin Bieber, in a horrible, horrible bottle, but actually a beautiful scent, and I'm wearing this one today. So The Key is one of those perfumes that when I first got it, I was like, I think this is really pretty, but I don't think it's for me, and I don't think I'm going to be able to wear it. It smells like a celebrity scent in lots of ways, like a classic celebrity scent, but there's just something in it that's just a little bit different, and it's really hard to put your finger on what it is. when I first reviewed this, I said it's quite shampooey, which really put me off, and it's got a noticeable vanilla in the base. Now, at the time, I wasn't really wearing hardly anything that had noticeable vanilla in it, so I definitely smelt the vanilla a bit stronger, and it was more obvious to me then. Now I can tell that there's vanilla in it for sure, but I find it more balanced nowadays than I did then, because I'm more accustomed to a noticeable vanilla in a perfume. But there's only a little bit here, and it is shampooey. But what I realised after I'd done that review and after it had gone out, in warmer weather, this is a fabulous perfume. This is another one of those perfumes that if you wear it in cold weather, it's going to smell shampooey. And for me, shampooey tends to mean a bit screechy and sharp, a little bit detergenty. So sort of clean in a way that makes my nose tingle and I just feel uncomfortable in. But warm weather, this is some kind of magic, and it is super addictive. It's got like bosenberry, I think it is. And it's such a beautiful perfume. It's kind of crazy that this is discontinued, because I do think that it's definitely in the kind of Ariana Grande realm of perfumes in terms of its general scent profile. However, it smells way less chemically and way less sickly and far more interesting in a subtle way than any Ariana Grande's that I've smelt. So it's a real shame they don't make this anymore. I've never really smelt anything quite like it. I have got one from Jeanne Arthur's called Cassandra Rose Rouge, and that gives me a sort of hint of the way I feel when I wear this, but it's not a dupe at all. It's just something that I think I spray on, and sometimes it makes me think of the key in the way it smells on me. But yeah, so that's the only suggestion I have. It's very unfortunate that this is so hard to find, because it's a really good perfume. It's really beautiful. It's very feminine, girly and fun, but it just has that little twist, that little hint of magic that suddenly takes a celebrity perfume from good to amazing, just makes it stand out from the others. So yeah, I have a much more positive feel about this perfume than I did when I first got it. And I can wear it, and I have worn it, and I'm wearing it right now. So yeah, that's beautiful. That's the Key from Justin Bieber, and I just think it's an absolute banger of a perfume. So this next one is one that I don't have in my collection anymore, but I had a sample of it for ages, and I used to go and smell it quite a lot in store, and I thought it was gorgeous, and I thought it was beautiful. And then I bought a bottle, and I couldn't wear it. And I just felt like it was so masculine on me. I'm talking about Hermes Unjard sur le toit. Now, I love the bottle. I love the idea of it. But, see, because the thing is, I also like Sur le Nil. I think that's a beautiful perfume, but that one turns a little bit masculine on me as well. And I know the perfumes are unisex, but in my brain I was always like, Sur le Toit is one of the best fresh rose perfumes. And I still kind of think that. But on me, the kind of more masculine notes, so the grass and the rosemary, really go a little bit cologne-y. It just doesn't work on my skin. And I kept sniffing it, and I kept being like, oh, but man, I remember when I used to get the apple and the pear and the rose quite strongly, and that used to really pop out when I used to test it. But somehow nowadays, and I don't know if it's a skin chemistry thing or whether my nose has changed, but now I get less of the apple and less of the rose and less of the pear, and I get more of the rosemary and the grass. And also I think there's some kind of woodiness there that isn't listed, that just is, some kind of cedar or something like that just comes out quite strongly on me. So yeah, very unfortunately, I had this in my collection for a while, and then I had to pass it on because I just couldn't get on with it, and it seemed like such a waste. So I'm just happy to have my Monsieur Lee from the Jardin collection. I love that perfume. I don't feel like I really need to have any of the others nowadays. I've got testers of them, and if I want to wear them, I can wear the carded samples, But yeah, it just didn't work out for me, and I'm still kind of surprised by it because I thought it was going to be a good one, but no, sadly, it didn't work for me. So I do think that this next one is lovely. I just have slightly different feelings about it, and I feel like I need to be honest about something I said when I first had this. Not even when I first had it, but when I talked to you guys about it. So this is Guess Seductive Noir. I've got a very tiny 15ml bottle of this. This is a really good perfume, and it is, I think, inspired by Mon Guerlain. The original Mon Guerlain, although this one lists sage instead of lavender, it still has a very similar feel, I think. It's generally the same kind of profile. So when I got this, what I said was, I really like Mon Guerlain, but if I were to buy a bigger bottle of Mon Guerlain, I probably wouldn't bother. I would buy this instead, because the original Mon Guerlain doesn't necessarily last particularly well on me, and this one is probably about the same lasting power. So my logic was, I would save myself some money, I'd get a big bottle of Guess Seductive Noir instead of replacing my bottle of Mon Guerlain. I've very much changed my mind about that. So I now have a lot of Mon Guerlains. I think it's one of my favourite perfumes of all time, and I could always smell the difference between this and Mon Guerlain, but I didn't know that it would really bother me enough to, to not want to spend the money, if you see what I mean. But actually, what I think now, because I've got so many flankers of Mon Guerlain, I've smelt them and I've worn them so much, I actually think that this one, Guess Seductive Noir, is maybe a little bit closer to the Eau de Parfum Floral from Mon Guerlain. So Floral is very much still the Mon Guerlain profile, but there's less of the tonka vanilla mixture and there's more vanilla. There's also more florals, and there isn't the licorice. I'm not sure if there's even patchouli in this one. So it's kind of a stripped back and more floral, slightly sweeter, more vanillic, and less complicated version of Mon Guerlain. And I think that's what Guess Seductive Noir smells like. I think it's more vanillic, less tonka. It's still got a slight aromatic feel to it, but it doesn't have that licorice and patchouli. So it's less complex. It's kind of, it's more of an aromatic vanilla than Mon Guerlain is. That to me is an aromatic and spicy vanilla tonka. And I think now, especially now I've had this for quite a long time and it's been developing, the sage is a little bit more obvious to me here. So I can kind of sense that it's not lavender and that it's sage, even though they are giving off quite similar feels. Now, I still really like Guess Seductive Noir, but there is no way that I would buy a bottle of this rather than the Mon Guerlain. So, I mean, I do still stand by that if you are on a mega budget, this is a brilliant perfume. Or if you don't like licorice, or you'd rather have something more vanillic, then yes, absolutely, Guess Seductive Noir is going to be a better option than Mon Guerlain. But I think I just am so in love with Mon Guerlain that nowadays I just have to throw my hands up and say, what I said is not true for me anymore. I would not buy this to replace Mon Guerlain. I have the intense version of Mon Guerlain, but I still want the original Mon Guerlain in my collection. And this one kind of gets ignored. It's just a little one. So this is one I can take on holiday with me. Maybe I can take it home, But generally speaking, it's, it just doesn't hit for me the same way that Mon Guerlain does. And, I don't really like saying that because I do like a bargainous perfume, but, that's just I've got to speak my truth, So let's finish up with this beauty. This is one of those ones I'd seen loads of people talking about. Some people were saying it was really sexy. When I first got this perfume and I reviewed it, I think I had the EDT. I can't remember if that video ever went out or not, to be honest. But I have done a video of the EDP versus EDT. And I think when I first ever got this perfume, what I thought about it, and probably what I said about it at the time, is it smells like soap. And that was my main takeaway when I first got Versace Crystal Noir. I was just like, everyone says this is really sexy, everyone says it's really good for date night, men love it, and I just get soap. I think it was Carmen Centrix who was saying to me as well, we were chatting about it, we were like, why is it that everyone thinks that the soapy scents are sexy? Like, is it something to do with like men wanting to, you know, be mothered or whatever? And it's this kind of thing. I think that might have been us having that conversation. But the funny thing is then, like, I tested it, I wore it, I was like, yeah, this is okay, you know, it's soapy, and I like a kind of soapy musk, and I feel like that's what this really is. It's like, it's not enjoying the light so much, is it? It's kind of a soapy, creamy, musky, sandalwoody perfume. I mean, we could argue all day about notes, but I get a bit of fig and coconut in this one personally. I know that's not what everyone gets, but that's what I get. But it was such an interesting one, because this is one where I did wear it one day and I was really digging how I smelt in it, and then I was lying around with my husband and he told me that I smelled sexy. And I was like, oh my God, everyone's right about these kind of soapy, musky scents. Now, I already knew that my husband liked kind of musky scents because he likes my fruity musks. He would always comment when I was wearing things that I describe as fruity musks. But this one, I think it has, again, that little hint of that kind of Katy Perry's indie, creamy musk, that slightly, I get coconut from indie, and I know not everyone does. And that kind of creamy, woody, cozy, musky feel. It has that in spades. But then it also has this kind of spiciness. I think it's got like a gingery and a peppery spiciness. I fully get like a figgy note from this. Then you get some very gentle florals. I put it in the same category as things like Pure Poison in terms of it being that kind of creamy, clean smelling, deep, smoky, musky scent. However, it really does also have a noticeable vanilla, the eau de parfum, when it dries down. This is the modern version of the eau de parfum. This is not the original version. And it's strong and it lasts forever. Like, this is a really good perfume. But yeah, my attitude to it when I first got it was very much a sort of, I don't understand why everyone's so obsessed with Versace Crystal Noir being sexy, because it really just smells like soap. But then I was proved wrong. Apparently soap is sexy, and actually, to be honest, I shouldn't say I was proved wrong, because I've always known that Chanel No. 5 was sexy, and that is very soapy. So yeah, I'm going to end there, because I actually have so many things I could talk about. I could make another video about this, because I have lots of things that I've changed my mind about. But yeah, so anyway, I hope this was interesting, and I hope me admitting when I was wrong, or if I've changed my mind, or if, you know, I've said things that I no longer agree with. I hope that this is interesting to you. Let me know down below how you feel about these perfumes. Obviously, I hope you also watch Amy's if you're watching this now, and I hope you engage with her about this too, because I think this is like such a fun thing to talk about. And let me know down below if there's any perfumes that you have completely changed your mind about, because I really want to know. I find this subject quite interesting. Our noses change, our skin changes, we change, our situations change, our climates change. All of these things really influence the way that we smell perfumes and how we feel about them. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, guys. Please do subscribe if you're not already subscribed. It really helps my channel. And yeah, I'll be back soon with another video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.